What's up, y'all? How y'all doing, man?
My
Yada, here with Reem and Theo. How you
my
guys
good.
doing tonight?
Pretty good.
All is good, my dudes. Every time I hear that damn intro, man, I feel I'm about to have a boxing match or something, man. The intro is kind of hot, man. You know,
Yeah, I know, man. I like that too. I sit there and
yeah,
listen to
man.
it.
hmm
So, man, it's good to be back, man. Listen, talking sports and stuff. There's a couple of new things going on, some interesting developments and stuff. Plus, we got the NBA trade deadline coming up.
Right.
That's gonna be big. So I want to kind of start off with what's in one of the biggest topics going on, the NFL coaching situation with Brian Flores and the different things going on with that. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, we all know that there's like a disproportionate amount of coaches that are African American or any minority for that matter. I mean, do you guys think there's any validity to what Brian Flores is saying with his own personal situation?
I don't know. Like you mentioned, I guess for me, you said it all when you said we all know, you know, that there's a big, I guess, disparity in minority coaches, which is why they created the whole Rooney Rule thing to begin with, right? So for me, that says it all. But I do think there is some validity in what he's saying. But of course, they're trying to discredit him.
Well, well, this has been going on since Dungy been a coach. Before he got the job to coach, this been going on with Dungy, Hugh Jackson, uh, Frazier, the guy was a former coach for the Vikings. This has been going on for many years. The problem is that they're not taking it seriously. It probably never will, honestly. There's a lot of black coaches like Eric Bieniemy, the coordinator for the Rams. I got his name for defensive coordinator for the Rams. He's doing great. For me, San Fran should say these guys are qualified. I think it's the DeMarco Reeves or Rhymes. I forgot his name right now. D'Amico Rhymes.
Yeah.
And
But
these guys,
Leftwich too.
right, Brian Leftwich. These guys has proven for the last 2 3 years, even 4 years, that these guys could have the ability to be head coaches, and these guys can pass over for first time OCs for the Rams. And it's so bad that the Texans was going to hire McNown, a quarterback. He had no experience by high school team. So that's just tells you how they feel about black coaches right now in the NFL.
Yeah, I look at it and it's kind of crazy because some people ask did the Rooney Rule help or the Rooney Rule hurt. I mean, the Rooney Rule, I think the spirit of the rule was right, but it actually kind of embarrasses people, like especially with that text with Belichick where he kind of had the inside information he knew. They just interviewing people as a formality, not even necessarily for the job. Like, okay, we have to interview one black person, so we'll do it. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at it. For one thing, what Brian Flores said about tanking, asking to be tank and trying to get a bonus for that. I mean, he had all the time he's been in Miami, all he did was win, and they didn't have a lot of talent, so that should say a lot.
Exactly.
And he still lost his job.
hmm
And
hmm
and then when you look at it, the only black coach, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is the winningest coach in NFL history. He's never
Right.
had a losing season
hmm
in 15 years. So that's the litmus test to stick around. And most of the minority coaches, when they lose and they get fired, they never get another shot again either.
Right.
Like
Yeah,
some of these
that's
guys are
true.
recycled over and over again, like Josh McDaniels, who openly admitted that he wasn't ready to coach when he was with Denver.
Mm.
So it's interesting. And then Hugh Jackson mentioned the tanking too.
Right.
That the
Yep,
Browns
he
wanted
did.
him to tank too. So it's definitely interesting.
He certainly did a good job of it. you know, he should have been promoted because they definitely lost a lot of games. That's for sure. But
I think
yeah, I look at it almost like these corporations now throwing around the whole diversity, equity, inclusion. To me, I look at a lot of that stuff as just buzzwords. It's like a checkbox. Every year you get a training video that pops up saying you have to complete it, right? Once you complete it, you don't hear any more about it until the next training video next year. And I think that's almost what it's like in terms of the Rooney Rule and interviewing these minority coaches. It's like a checkbox. Let me just get it out of the way, right? Didn't I forget the guy's name, but didn't one guy, didn't it come out where one guy interviewed after they had already decided who the head coach was going to be.
Yeah.
Right? They already made a decision. I forget which team. They had already basically hired somebody and still interviewed a guy just to check off that box.
It was the Giants, right? When I hired Dable, the coordinator
Yeah.
from the Bills.
I got an interesting thing about that. At one point, Dable thought that the defensive coordinator who's black, what's his name, Patrick Graham, was going to stay. Do you think when all of this stuff came out, it influenced Patrick Graham to leave? Because Dable in his press conference was like Patrick Graham was going to stay unless he got a head coaching job, and then he basically left and took the same position with the Raiders.
I'm sure that factored into it. I'm sure that
Hmm.
factored into his decision to move on.
Yeah, yeah, and plus, let me add this as well. The NFL is not a sport where tanking is kind of easy. You could get hurt in the NFL more than any other sport. Taking in basketball is one thing, maybe baseball, but every play you throw your body around, having guys who's so strong, so big, athletic, just jump on you and hit you from all angles or for 3 hours, of a football game. So tanking, is like really these guys are not animals, man. These human beings, man. These guys get hurt, get injured, play hurt, paying for a contract, trying to feed their families, man. And have these guys think that they could just tank in a very, very physical sport like this is real disappointing, man. It says a lot about us or how they feel
Zane,
about us.
Zane says that the players need to start their own league, which it's got to start with the retired players and the all-time greats because of the active players, which they can't really be in it. I mean, I think there is some thing with that. I think the hardest part about trying to do something like that is sad to say is always the sponsors. As much as we're the players, could we get Nike and all these different people behind us? Because you really, it's sad to say, if you could get the sneaker companies and the sports drinks, you probably could actually start a league.
Yeah, it's certainly possible.
I think it's more than possible. I think the only issue with that is the media, TV outlet. Who's going to show our games on TV? I think sponsors ain't no problem. Having black millionaires, billionaires, the people who have access to writing things not an issue. Our issue is what TV platform is willing to go on a limb and show all black football league.
Yeah,
Everything else, we could manifest.
yeah. I think it probably, if we did, we'd probably have to start with like some untraditional type of methods to be seen. Like probably like a platform like this on a YouTube, or somebody else would have to take a chance with us because they'd have to see that as some revenue there, and we'd have to try to get like the same thing somewhat where we see him, where we do see some star like athletes or some big time athletes starting to go to HBCUs.
Right.
We'd have to get some people to decide to not go to here and come to our league.
Mm,
Yeah,
sounds
that'll be a
good.
big part of it too, because it's like, how do you stop these top players coming out from going to the NFL where the check is probably going to be bigger than like a startup league, especially in football, right? Where, a career is probably a few years for most people go out there and get hurt. So that's how do you get steer those guys towards a new league?
Well, it happened once before, and it's ironic that it happened with Donald Trump with the USFL. Remember the Herschel Walker deal?
Hmm.
Herschel Walker decided to go to USFL instead of the NFL, but he got like a boatload of money.
Or will it turn into that like have that big three feeling to it, right? Where it's like the players who can't get into the league or the older guys playing. Because these guys, it's gonna be hard to you know, I think it's gonna be hard to get these top players coming out to go to that league. Unless they secure, big, like you said, sponsorship deals and whatever, and the money is right.
Yeah. Zane says that all the sponsors were considered, but it's a lot of pressure the NFL to do things the right way. And he says, look at how Ice Cube started the big three. Shannon says the NFL is a plantation and any other league gets traction, the NFL is going to intervene. Nobody in college was trying to enter the XFL draft intentionally, which was
Mm.
true. The
Yeah.
XFL actually, to some extent, when you watched it, was a somewhat more entertaining league because some of the rules were like a little more progressive, but they squashed that real quick.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Like you said, it was a bit exciting, I think, for me
I heard
anyway.
that I heard the Rock owns the XFL now. That he's
Yeah,
gonna try to
he's
bring it
trying to bring
back.
it back. Mhm.
Yeah, he's gonna try to bring it back like in a year. But from what I understand, it's gonna be not necessarily in competition with the NFL, but something more in conjunction with the NFL. So basically, gonna turn it to what's him minor league thing. It looks like.
Mhm. The NFL is too powerful for any other league to try to compete with them as far as talent, revenue, media platforms. You know, what did like when the McMahon have XFL, they had a good ideas, different rules, camera angles. NFL stole their camera angles. You know, this or that for sure. You know, also too, having football in summertime is kind of tough too as well. 'Cause a lot of us is on vacation, summertime, trying to hang out and travel and do other things. So football, right? For football in the summertime is kind of tough. At the same time, trying to compete because McMahon was trying to compete with NFL. That was his
Yeah,
problem in the first place. Instead of saying, "No, we're not trying to compete. We're trying to do our own thing." So, but that being said, you know, the NFL got a lot of work to do as far as black coaches and men in that fence between having more black coaches in the NFL.
yeah. Shannon
Yeah,
says the
agreed.
NFL took a lot from the XFL in terms of the production, and you see that
Facts.
that's like the new camera angles and the stuff you see, like the perspective of the people coming from the helmets. That's definitely there. When you look at the coaching situation, I mean, at first Goodell came out and he kind of like completely dismissed what this guy said, and then was him he circled back and said that it's unacceptable the amount of coaches and how it's actually going there. So I mean, the NFL, unlike the NBA, where it seems like the NBA players have a little more power within the league to try to make some change. I don't know if the NFL or the players have that type of pull to try to force things to be a certain way. I did hear that one of Deshaun Watson's issues was that he wanted to play for a black coach, that he wanted them to hire a black coach, and he didn't want that other guy they hired. So
Right.
stay tuned on that. The next thing I want to talk about is the Winter Olympics. I mean, now for nothing, I look at the whole situation around America, and I'm sure there's people that have like some obvious interest in it. There's people who may have participate in a lot of winter sports and different things or something. Do you guys plan on looking at the Winter Olympics? Are things in the Winter Olympics that interest you? Because I don't really see it necessarily being the biggest draw. What's the draw as far as like people in the United States in general?
Yeah, I don't really have much interest in it. One thing I was reading a interesting article the other day though about it, and they were saying that all of the snow there is human made. You know, so I thought that was interesting because they were saying there's like a ton of resources that are required to make that man-made snow. Um, I think they said something like 49 million gallons of water or something, all type of machinery, and not just that. Like some of the athletes were saying that it becomes a lot more dangerous because that snow isn't fluffy and soft, you know, like normal snow. So that's one thing that I found interesting about it.
Zane says he hasn't watched the Winter Olympics in decades. I mean, I can't say that I've watched much of the Winter Olympics in a long time too. I don't really see like I don't even really know if I watch too much now or anything or something. I mean, maybe if you flipping through the channels and something interesting is there or something like I don't know, maybe something. I think Sean White is doing the snowboarding thing, but I wouldn't look for it if I was flipping through the channels and they was on. I might look at it, but I'm not gonna look for anything there.
Yeah, I think he retired, Sean White, recently, a few days ago. He announced his retirement from
Oh
the
wow.
Olympics. Yeah, I'm with Zane too. I say I monitor it. But as a little kid growing up, I followed a lot more because a lot of the athletes were more into it. It felt more meaningful.
Yeah.
I guess we live in different times now. Where a lot of these guys don't want to represent the country or feel the need to. And right now, I guess everybody's mentality is different right now. So, plus the marketing wise, who's out there to get your interest to watch it or turn the TV on or turn your tablet on, look at your phone and see what's going on. You know,
Yeah.
so
I, I don't think it's that level of like national pride either that it was
Right,
before.
right.
As far as like people just watching it because it was America and stuff like that. I
Hmm.
mean, part of that could be because we kind of get clobbered in the Winter Olympics or something. So
Yeah,
people,
could be that.
people like to watch people winning, and we haven't done well in the Winter Olympics. Well, I don't even know when. I don't even. James is the last time it was a Jamaican bobsleigh sled team was the last time. I gotta agree when
Cool
they
runnings.
yeah
Yeah,
when they
right.
momentum, everybody tuned in because they want to see what was going to happen.
That's funny.
I mean, I can't even really say I could name really any real athletes in the Winter Olympics.
A big part of it for me is growing up in the Bronx, right? There was no ski slopes or you know,
Hmm.
so I just don't relate to the sports at all.
I mean, this how old I am. Is that a speed skater dude? Remember, I think they had him on TV. Used to do commercials. Apollo Ono, is he still doing that?
No, 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 no. That's a long time ago.
That's how far ago I watched the Winter Olympics or something. I mean, you would think like I mean, plus too, you got to figure they in competition with the NBA, the NCAA, some, the Super Bowl and the NFL, right now. So realistically, it's not a good time for them to even be on.
Right.
And if you think about it, people in America like hockey too. So even the NHL it's not it's still out there.
Yeah.
It's about soccer right now. Soccer is more popular than anything else right now as far as Olympics.
Shannon says I like skiing. It's strenuous but fun. You know
Mm,
what? I believe that. I believe from participating in those different sports, it probably is like skiing and stuff like that. But I mean, to watch it, it's probably a little different than.
I think there's been some major injuries too, even before the Winter Olympics started. Like I think some lady who was supposed to be, I think she's involved with skiing, right? She was like supposed to be the person they were saying was going to win the gold, and I know she
hmm.
suffered like some major injury or something.
Yeah, I don't recall her name, but I remember that situation.
Zane said the X Games skiing is the shit. I actually gotta say, those in the X Games, they do have more interesting stuff or something than necessarily the Winter Olympics.
Right.
I mean, yeah, I did hear about the lady who got hurt. Was saying that was probably one of our only hopes to winning this or something. I mean, if you look at it, I was watching something before, and they had some event where a guy was like on skis cross country, and he had a gun, and he was stopping shooting stuff. I'm like, okay, I can't really even see where this would happen anyway.
Right.
Sound like you doing like military maneuvers or something.
And that's actually a
Military
sport.
training.
That's a
Yeah,
sport in the
yeah,
Winter
well,
Olympics.
yeah. It's a guy who skis, like cross country skiing. He's got a gun on, and they shoot stuff. Then they start skiing again.
That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I have no interest in that at all. I'm not even trying to see that at all. No. No, thank you.
Yeah. So it's I mean, next thing you know, they're gonna put. The funniest thing is we talk about this, and they took stuff like wrestling out of the Olympics or something. That
Yeah,
might
move.
I might have watched that. It might be more interesting than watching somebody cross country skiing or something. So
Yeah.
it's just
If I
real
had to
interesting
choose,
with that.
yeah, if I was forced to choose, I'd rather watch wrestling than a guy skiing and shooting a gun at the same time.
For sure.
He's auditioning for the next Bond movie.
Yeah, right. I don't know what's going on with that. That's a bad idea, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Um, uh,
lawsuit waiting to
yeah,
happen.
exactly. I don't get that.
Yeah. So speaking of Bonds, Barry Bonds was saying lost his last chance on the official ballot to become a Hall of Famer. The only hopes he has now is what they call, I think, the historian ballot, or some kind of like I guess honorable mention or whatever that thing is. And that would still have to happen probably this fall. I mean, what do you guys think about Barry Bonds? And I think Roger Clemens is out too now. With both those guys not making the Hall of Fame.
Throughout this whole thing, has Bonds ever released a statement in terms of him not getting into the Hall of Fame? I
No.
never even heard anything from
Mm-mm. Only Roger did. Roger Clemens did.
Shannon says they got to get in through the Giza committee.
Mm.
Like, did Bonds ever actually formally get caught failing a test or anything like that, or do they? Like, I know they had his name in the Balco lab, but I don't even know if he ever got a failed test.
Right.
I don't know if he ever got suspended.
I think he gets suspended. I think I have to Google that. But from what I recall, top of my head, I think his supplier spoke up and accused him of
Zane says,
supplying him.
Zane says Jose Canseco book messed it up for all the steroid Floyds.
Hmm.
I think
That
I
sure
think he's
did.
remember his supplier, whoever went to jail for him. He wouldn't say nothing. That guy went to
Okay.
jail himself, went
Okay.
for like 6 months or a year
Right.
because he
Okay.
wouldn't give him up. Shannon says he said he never knowingly used and was caught in the Balco scandal. So
Right. Right.
what's interesting about not only did he not use or get caught in the scandal, here's something I always think about the whole situation with both those guys too, right? Let's say Bonds did do it in the last 2 or 3 years, right? If you took out the last 5 years of Bonds' career, he would still qualify for the Hall of Fame. If you look
Right.
at Bonds,
Yeah,
Bonds'
you
first
would.
years in San Francisco, all those years on Pittsburgh, same thing with Roger Clemens. Both those guys, steroid years aside, would have still qualified for the Hall of Fame. So that's something I
Yeah,
wonder
I
if they
agree.
even considered any of that stuff.
No, I think it's just supposedly what it does to the image of the game. I guess would be my guess. Uh, but yeah, I mean, I don't have any problems with it either way. Like if he would have got in, I wouldn't have been upset and say, "Oh, he shouldn't have made it because of the whole Balco thing." Same thing with Clemens. I guess I'm kind of impartial on it.
First of all, let's be clear. Barry Bonds, Sosa, McGuire saved baseball.
Yeah.
Let's say Barry Bonds did it. Those three guys, whoever it is, all the guys, they saved baseball and catapulted that sport to be the number one sport for a period of time. Everybody was watching baseball. That was the number one sport in the world for a good amount of years because Sosa hit 80 home runs. This guy hit 80 home runs. Bonds is being walked, but bases loaded for crying out loud. Steroids save baseball. It's a Jose Canseco came out with that book. He was salty and blew everything up. Now all of a sudden they want to, have somebody to be the fall guy, which is Barry Bonds or Roger Clemens or McGuire or Sosa. But those guys knew. All those guys knew, man. The commissioner knew. Everybody knew. But we make a lot of money and you number one sport in the world over the NFL and over the NBA and soccer and hockey like that. You're gonna keep quiet. I hope nobody blows it up, which Jose did.
Shannon says Ortiz got in and tested positive, what the media liked, which is true. I
Yeah,
thought that
that's a
was
good
strange.
point.
Yeah, and it is facts. They didn't have a problem with putting him in there, but I don't think the media ever really liked Bonds. So he's a
Yeah,
victim
that's
of his
true.
own. It happened with some of those older guys too, because I know Eddie Murray. It took to like the last ballot to get in because he never talked to the media, so they never voted for him.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
yeah, Hall of Fame ain't about your personal preference. It's about are you deserving to get in, put them in. It ain't about how you feel about somebody not giving you an interview or going on your podcast or they give you a autograph signature for your son. It ain't about that, man. It's about the guy playing on the field, man. If you're deserving, put him in. That's it. That's the way I see
Yeah,
it.
baseball's real interesting with that too because if you look at it, if you look at the statistics all the way through, and you go by like how NBA goes, some of these guys would never be in there. So baseball was saying we had a whole era where batting 300 was like the litmus. You batted 300, you were great. And there's several people in the Hall of Fame that batted career 270 hitters, 275. Then we had a whole cycle, like you said, where guys brought it back up. Where you had guys batting Wade Boggs and these guys batting 380. You
Of
had
course,
guys,
yeah.
guys were up there batting 370. The 330, 340. I think at one point they had 100 hitters that batted over 320 or something like that, or 310.
Yeah. You talking about people like Boggs and Paul
Yeah,
Molitor.
Yeah,
Tony Gwynn, Robin Yount, guys, John Manley. I go on and on, man. Even Eddie Murray was batting that batting
yeah.
in the low 300s, man. So
But I think what you said is right. I guess that got born for the league, and it wasn't enough to generate that interest. And that's when it enters the McGuires, the Sosas, and the Bonds with the heavy hitting home runs and stuff like that. And here's something interesting about Balco too. When they busted Balco, they found Mary J. Blige's name and 50 Cent. Are they gonna be excluded from the Music Hall of Fame for taking steroids? Mary J. Blige and 50 Cent can't be in the music rock and roll Hall of Fame, the Music Hall
yeah,
of Fame because of Balco.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Enhanced lyrics, sir.
Hopefully, Ja Rule is not voting, right?
Yeah, right.
Zane says the league already knew, but they turned it back on them. The big league bigwigs enjoyed having them tickets sold out, but played them. Prime example was the home run derby. Yeah, yeah.
He's on
And
point.
much respect to Ken Griffey Jr. He was the truth and did it naturally. Yeah, I,
Facts.
I, I gotta say that.
Yeah.
Facts.
Janan says Buster and Timberland were on there too. Yeah, I guess none of those guys could make the Music Hall of Fame because they all got busted for steroids and music. I got Timberland's fingers move a little faster. We know how Buster
Yeah,
got a voice now. All those steroids that was enhanced their musical performance.
right.
They
That's
Right.
might
funny.
want to. They might want to open up. The steroid era again, because in my opinion, I think baseball is on a downturn, and I'm not even talking about only because of the strike. I think just in general, right? Guys, statistics were down dramatically this year. I think guys were barely hitting 300. Like you mentioned
Yeah.
before, Kenyatta, where hitting 300 used to be like a big thing. Then it jumped up to the mid to late threes, but now
Mm-hmm.
got in those late twos now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
300 might be a little over 300 might be leading the league.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think it was I don't know if there was a person that nobody, I don't think anybody hit 330 this year.
So they may want to look into what they're going to do next to generate interest again.
I think for them too, without those home runs, they're not like their players are not even recognizable.
Knowledgeable. Right. Exactly. They're being marketed right. Exactly. Exactly. Is Kanye West on steroids?
Kanye West.
Yeah, he's worth 10 billion.
Baseball. Stan
Right.
says baseball is dead. The television numbers are in the toilet, and the biggest star, Trout, is always hurt. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's true. Because about Mike Trout, I mean, think about it. If you seen Mike Trout in the street, just because we know baseball, we would know who he is. But I can tell you, I don't think 7 out of 10 people could recognize Mike Trout if he was sitting next to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
you can't have the stars of the league and people not even know who they are. I mean, they're literally sad to say they're worse than football because football players got helmets on, and I can still tell you if I seen Alvin Kamara or Stephon
Right.
Diggs, you can still, they're still recognizable. I know it would any of the Watt brothers look like if I seen them in the street.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely bad.
They probably marketing Otani for the Angels, because people over Japan and China, those guys are buying tickets, man. That's where the money's at too, man. In all these
Yeah,
sports,
Yeah.
So that's why you see Otani on a new cover, a new baseball video game coming out pretty soon, and commercials and ESPN and magazines. So that's what it is. They're going where the money's at. The money's where Otani and his peoples, man, overseas in China and Japan.
yeah. Shannon said, and they forcing pitchers to throw down the middle. They made the strike zone small to generate offense, but dudes still striking out. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
It's
that's a good
amazing,
point.
like how you still not walking, and they trying to let you hit it. They're trying to let you hit it, and guys
Mm-hmm.
still can't hit it. I mean, it's one of those things where like you look at these guys, they paying them a lot of money, and now you see the players. Listen, they got this lockout thing where they're fighting to get even more money. I don't know where it's gonna come from. Like there's no television revenue. Like realistically, because we are hometown fans, so we probably watch our hometown like Yankee games and stuff like that. But do you watch any of those other really games a lot? I mean, how
I
many games
really.
watching watching the games, and even if you're watching your own home team, you're watching the Yankee game. I mean, Do you sit there and watch the full 9 innings all the time? So
Playoffs, maybe, yeah.
yeah,
Outside of the playoffs, regular season, maybe the beginning of the season, and then towards
yeah,
the end, if there's like some chase to get into the playoffs or something like that. But I think the season in general is just too long. 162 games, 9 innings. The game itself is long.
yeah,
Mm. I grew up a baseball fan. My first love was baseball, so I don't plan on watching baseball. But I'll try to catch some of it, which I can, depending on my schedule is. But yeah, I can't watch it all the time. Most games like I used to, man. I get older, get family like that. But like I was trying to say, that they need to market they sport a little better, so we all can have more interest in the sport besides our own just personal team growing up.
yeah. Redemption 9 says the owners know the revenue is down and that's why they're fighting against the increase of salaries, but all baseball numbers are down. Their marketing sucks.
Mm. Well said.
Yeah,
And Zane says, I think baseball is more accessible to strength enhancers because of the amount of games in the regular season. Yeah, I
Makes
yeah,
think
that's
that
makes
true too.
sense.
both of
Makes
those are
sense.
valid points. The crazy thing is that when you look at it, if I'm a baseball owner, there's no way I'm giving people more money because we're not making money. So I can't give you I can't give you more of what we don't have. Like they already established some crazy models giving out. Like I think the Padres kind of probably pissed off a lot of teams by giving out those 10-year deals. Don't they got two players with 10-year deals on the Padres?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
Ta-
something crazy like that. Yeah,
yeah.
it seemed like other
Tatis.
teams were trying to roll back off of those deals. They didn't want to start giving those deals. They wanted to kind of get away from it. And these guys went out and put two. And some of the things in baseball do have to be changed. I kind of hate the way free agency works, where you basically stuck with a team for 6 or 7 years, and then depending on what time you go up, like a guy like Aaron's Judge, realistically, if he played a sport like basketball, he probably could have made $1 billion. But because he's in baseball, when he becomes a free agent, he's gonna be 30 years old. So
Yep.
yeah,
unless they're giving out deals based on good faith, there's no way he's getting a 10-year deal at 30.
Right. And you're gonna use his age against him too at that time. What are you gonna do?
Yep.
yeah, that's a good point.
Zane says they have to keep up the demand. And yeah, Fernando Tatis, yep, he's got the deal with the years. But you look at it, a lot of guys that was in that if you come up in baseball and you don't come up right away, you're never gonna get to the money.
Right. Right.
So that's one of the things, I can understand them fighting for that part of it and fighting there for increased minimal salaries, but some of the stuff even I don't even know if salary arbitration makes sense. Like I could go out there, have one great year. I could go from making $4 million, be salary eligible for arbitration, and go from 4 million to 19 for one year after I raised my batting average 20 points and got six more home runs. Next year stink, and then you keep going back and forth like that.
Mm-hmm. Also,
Yeah,
too, I'm sorry, Kim. Go ahead. Do your thing.
it's definitely a weird system that they got to work out.
I also want to add too as well, like they have a revenue sharing too in baseball, which is I don't think where teams like this, the Pittsburgh Pirates or say the Cincinnati Reds, they get more money from other teams who make more money. Say the Yankees, the Mets, the
Yep.
Dodgers. These guys have big revenue. So the revenue sharing and you guys like the state, I think, I'm sorry, Pirates is bringing in an extra 20 million for the Yankees. And you're not spending no money. That's a power right there itself. You guys not trying to win.
What's the motivation to win?
Right,
Shannon says
right,
a hot dog at these stadiums are
right.
over $10 to pay them horrible salaries for underperforming players. A regular working class person can't take their family to the game. I think that I seen from what I've seen, there was only one stadium, and I think it might be Atlanta, where he said that he wasn't going to charge. Like the food is supposedly tremendously cheaper than any other place. It might be the Braves,
Mm.
but realistically, still, you've been to a Yankee game recently,
Yes, yes.
so you know what those costs are like.
Yeah, I went with my two boys, man. Forget about it, man. Our kids want everything, man. So food wise, they want everything: cheese fries and hot dogs and all this stuff, man. It's crazy, man. Ridiculous, man.
They got
Ridiculous.
got got you for some cheese fries and a hot dog for $25.
Man, listen, man. And no drinks. She said no drinks, right? You
Yeah,
know,
no,
no
yeah.
drink.
On a drink, that's another
Mhm.
$8
Right,
for a
right.
soda.
Hmm.
So it's just too much. They figure they're gonna get it back somehow. But
Yeah.
baseball, I don't know. They don't seem like they're gonna be a successful model in the future. They're gonna have to come up with something. Short
Mm.
games, make it more exciting or something.
Hmm. I
Sudden
want
death overtime.
on the side note, fellas, if you guys have time when it gets warmer and season starts, man, you do a road trip to Camden Yards, man, to Orioles game. Fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely want to do that.
Fantastic. Camden Yards is dope, man. You get good seats for good prices, and the variety of food is outstanding. Outstanding, especially if you love seafood for sure, man. Soft shell crabs, all kind of stuff, man. They got it there. Name it, they got it there, man. But Camden Yards is very nice, man. If I want to do a road trip with your family or friends or just the fellas, man, it's very nice, man. Camden Yards.
Shannon said he remembers when the Yankees bleachers was under $10 before. I remember that when the bleacher seat was like $8 to go to the bleachers. I don't know if you probably might be like $50 to go to the bleachers now.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's true. I remember, man, my uncle took me to the Yankee game and bring in a big bag of White Castles, man. No problem. You can bring in food, man. These days, forget about it, man. You got to pay $10 for a hot dog.
Zane says he's got to come up for a Yankee game with us. We got to get out there where you at to one of them Camden Yards games, according to Theo.
Camden Yards is the way to go, fellas. We could do that, man. Have a good
Wow,
time.
Shannon says they moving the left field back at Camden Yards too.
Yeah. I don't blame him. About time, man. It's too short. Fly ball to home run, man. You gotta do that, man. Makes no sense.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is the NBA trade deadline. I mean, you hear
Mm.
a lot of things going on. A lot of things may be going on, may not be going on. I mean, I personally don't think any of these big name players going to move. Like, I don't see James Harden going to Philly. Like, that would be crazy. I don't know about Bradley Bill moving and some of the stuff. But I could tell you this personally. I know there's some guys I can name like one or two that if they could unload, they would. If the Lakers could unload Westbrook, he'd be gone yesterday. So that's one
Yeah.
one guy that's definitely gone. Who do you guys see moving, and who do you guys see staying?
I hope one of them moving is Julius Randle. you know, I think we got to get him out of New York, put him out of his misery. And I like him going to Sacramento, hopefully in that De'Aaron Fox room. I don't know how true it is, but I would love to see those two get swapped for each other. Fox, I don't think is necessarily the greatest, but I think he'll be a better fit than Julius Randle. Um, so those are guys I hope move. Like you said, Russ, I'm sure LeBron has been looking for trades. Forget about the GM, Palinka. I'm sure LeBron has been looking to trade Russ for a while. But I don't think he's going to get traded. His stats are down. This is a terrible time for Russ. Plus, it's the contract. I think maybe somebody like Spencer Dinwiddie could be on the move. Somebody like that. There's a couple of guys who could be moved, but like you said, I don't think any of the big names are going anywhere.
Julius Randle is such on bad terms with New York Knicks fans that we're willing to take Russell Westbrook right now. That's how bad he is. We are willing to take Westbrook off Ellie's hands. That's how bad he is with the Knicks fans, Randle. But that being said, I like the kid Brunson from the Mavericks, the point guard Brunson. I'm a big fan of his, man. Might be a little undersized though, but
Yeah,
he got a good heart, he got good vision. You know how to facilitate. He can shoot, make clutch shots. I like him a lot, man. Really, I really do. So if I'm the Knicks, I'd rather have Brunson than Fox. You know, Fox might be bigger, more explosive, and more dynamic. But as far as a good fit, and get everybody involved and know how to run a team, I like Brunson for the Mavericks. If we could put him away from them.
Zane says Zion Williams to the Knicks would be heaven. I mean, if they could pull that off, I mean, I don't know if they. Well, they probably have to trade half the team, everybody except for RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, and then you still have to give them like 4 years worth of draft picks to get that get that deal done.
Yeah. He's injury prone too already, so I don't know
Yeah,
about that.
I do think. Of course, Philly's going to try to trade Ben Simmons again. I mean, they have to, but I don't see him on the move. They might want to get rid of him, but
Probably
I
in the
don't see.
off season for him.
They want
Yeah,
too much for him, man. They want too much. He's not playing. They want too much for him. They could have got CJ McCollum and four other guys from Portland who could have filled in the bench and given them more versatility, but the demand's too high.
Zane said, like Shaq said, Westbrook plays too fast.
Yeah.
For, I mean, Westbrook at this point, I don't even think it's a team that plays that type of pace anymore for Westbrook to be able to be successful. Like, he's got to probably reinvent himself. I think this year is basically like a is basically a wash for him.
The thing I say about him is a lot of it, what we're seeing from him, is probably uh, I would say is a big part of it is the Lakers, and not just him. And what I mean by that is they almost set him up to fail. Right? They put him into a system where LeBron is ball dominant and so is Westbrook. So unless they're alternating who's going to dominate possessions, then Westbrook is useless out there. He's not a shooter. Every LeBron team needs shooters around him on the perimeter. So I don't know what made them think these two would be a good pairing. Westbrook needs the ball in his hands. Westbrook is great as an attacking point guard on a losing team. I don't ever really see him winning anything, but he'll be great on, you put him on Sacramento, let's say, instead of Fox or whatever it is, and he'll be back to averaging 25. He
I
just needs
think
the ball. He can't shoot.
if you look at some of the teams or some of the players out there, I don't even think it's that good a class of players out there as far as making trades. I mean, Zane says Westbrook can play Flash in the upcoming Flash movie. I don't think there's too many people that you could actually have out there that you can deal for now. It's tough to make a deal in the NBA now, like manipulating the draft picks and moving players, the salary cap,
Right.
and
I
like
think
I I personally think the Knicks got to steal, but the coaches got to go because Cam Reddish should definitely be playing. I don't understand that where he got traded for. They actually traded away a draft pick too, a first round pick to put a
yeah.
guy on the bench and outside the rotation. But you like the rotation? Somebody should ask him, does he like losing? Because that,
Yeah, that's what bugged me out with Tibbs, but that's what got him fired everywhere else, right? He just he doesn't grow. He
I mean,
just keeps trying the same thing over and over, expecting different results.
I
And
did.
I'm sorry, you guys know, fella, I didn't want Tibbs. Remember that. I didn't want Tibbs at all because I seen this coming. And after his first good season with the Knicks, what we wanted to do, get veteran players. Just how we
Yeah,
got Fournier, we got Kemba, and he's not playing young guys. We trying to find a young stud and get cohesiveness with young dudes, man. Look, Golden State did. They drafted Clay and Curry and Draymond and other guys. You know what I'm saying? Other guy, Kid Barnes from UNC. Pay the young kids, man. Let them guys gel and see what happens, man. And those
Yeah,
guys took time before they blew up and took over the NBA. It took them about a good 3, 4 years. That's all we need. Pay the young kids, man. Lick your wounds, man. We need no more 40 years of Kemba Walkers of the old of the past, should say. Pay the young kids, man. Be in the style.
Zane says to bring back Phil Jackson for them Lakers, 4 year, 60 million if not more for Phil. Yeah, I mean at this point they're gonna need a lot more than Phil to win unless Phil's suiting up. They
Right.
the
don't
crazy
have a
thing
chance.
was is he went about it the wrong way, but he has some good ideas. Like he went about the whole Carmelo thing the wrong way,
Yeah,
but Carmelo was on the downslide, right? Same thing with Porzingis. Eventually, Phil was questioning whether Porzingis would be durable, right? And look now, Porzingis can't stay healthy. And I think we could have at the time flipped Porzingis for like Jalen Brown and somebody else, right?
I
There
think
was like serious deals, a lot better deals out there to be had for Porzingis than what we ended up getting.
I think the NBA is one place where a lot of times players succeed based on what team they go to or who they play with. I think Porzingis. One of the problems with Porzingis is that is actually sounds crazy is playing with Doncic. Doncic is a ball dominant guy
Yeah,
who literally doesn't
he's
play
dribbling the
any
air out of
defense
the
at
ball.
all, and he has like literally it's 24 seconds in the shot clock. He's got it 19 seconds in his hand. So the best players
Yeah,
to play with him is a guy like Tim Hardaway Jr. or somebody like that, where they'll catch it and shoot.
and you shoot. Yeah,
Whereas Porzingis, he actually likes to have the ball in his hand somewhat to try to make a move back down or whatever. And he's just spotting up at the 3 point line. Plus, to his personality, neither one of those two guys are leaders. So
Right.
there's no like person like Porzingis. If you could trade Porzingis to a team like with a guy like LeBron, he would thrive.
he
He
would
would,
thrive a lot of places if he could actually stay on the court. I think he can't stay
yeah,
on the court.
yeah. And then like as far as like the Knicks are making deals, the Knicks got to decide whether they think they can win now or they're gonna be a win later team because I think last year was great for them, but I don't see them repeating it this year. And some of these other teams are getting a little better with the blueprint. These younger teams, like you look at some of these teams building. Like I would say, as far as the future, I would say Charlotte surpassed them definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless Knicks management, Leon Rose and Worldwide West, catch on and say, hey, we made a mistake, then we're gonna be in trouble. Like Theo said, bringing in Fournier, Kimba, we should have just kept our young core and just added to it with Grimes, right? McBride, those were, and even Sims, right? Those were nice draft picks, but
Yeah,
they
Right.
right on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I
Grimes
think
is
so.
starting to play a little more, but it's
Mm-hmm.
like Toppin, right? Playing 4 or 5 minutes now a game.
Yeah.
Julius Randle's playing 43 minutes a night. And we
Zane
Playing.
said
still losing. That's the crazy part.
some of those guys need to not even get to play at all. Like I don't understand why. Forget about the foul troubles of Mitchell Robinson. You know what? What is that? Does he get some kind of incentive for not fouling out? Do they pay him extra for not fouling out? If he's only going to play 28, 30 minutes, foul out. I'd rather see 32 minutes of Mitchell Robinson fouling out than 24 minutes of New Orleans Will getting slammed around or flopping around all over the court.
I
So,
don't even want to see Noel on the court.
no.
Put in
Yeah,
Sims. And it's not
yeah.
that Noel is terrible. I think
Right.
he's a decent defender. But like Theo said, we need to go at the youth movement, let these guys attempt to gel because it's obvious we don't have a team that's ready to win right now.
No. Zane said what the Lakers need is John Morant or Trey Young. Zane, I think all the teams in the NBA would agree that if they got a John Morant or Trey Young, it would change their team. Those guys are different type of players, like
But you see
high
the
level,
difference
not even
between
star. They moving to superstar level. Those two guys.
I'm not saying he's as good as them. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But the difference between the Knicks and those organizations is when they brought those guys in, they put the ball in their hands immediately and
Oh
just
yeah,
let them go.
yeah,
RJ Barrett, right? Again, I'm not saying he's on their level, but we don't know what he is because Julius Randle's pounding the ball for 20 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you look
Put
at
the
some of the
ball in
teams that's
RJ
coming up.
hands and see what he is.
Some of the teams that's coming up, if you look at them, Lamelo's always been Lamelo from day one. Lamelo got out there. They let Bridges do what he does. They let all these guys go out there and do what they do. Whereas a team where the Knicks, on the other hand, the Knicks are kind of functioning the way Indiana is. And Indiana has realized what they're doing is the wrong way. That's where they try to start the fire sale.
And it's
Because,
different if we're winning games doing that. Like if RJ was backing up, he went to like let's say some of these guys that went to Golden State, right? Moses, Moody, Kaminga. So they're
yeah,
just there waiting their turn, right? But you're backing up Steph Curry, you know.
yeah. So, yeah, it's a reason why you're a backup.
But RJ Barrett not getting the ball in his hand so that Julius Randle could pound it, it just makes no sense.
See, one of the things about teams like, let's say you just said like the Golden State Warriors or teams like that, players benefit from let's like iron sharpens iron. Players benefit from playing against higher caliber players in practice. They learn from them. So the people that leave Golden State, like, there's no way they could keep all of those guys there. So Moody,
Wiseman, right? Moody.
Kaminga, all those guys.
Now Wiseman was over there, right?
Yeah,
Wiseman.
Wiseman. But the thing is every practice I get to go against Steph Curry, whereas every practice you go against whoever. I mean, I'm sure right now there's situations. Well, excuse me, we know Kimba could score. That's undoubted. We've seen that by the 4 straight 40-point games, so we know he can score points. But everybody in the league knows that bigger guards going to just try to post them up.
Right.
So I'm pretty much sure with and that's just something that's crazy about Knicks or teams in general, is that what is it? The Knicks didn't know the scouting report. What did they used to do when they played against Kimball? So you bring them in like it just is mind boggling how you bring a player in and blame them for certain things when you knew who they were before you got them.
Right.
Kimball was never going to be no defensive stopper. So if you wanted a
Yeah.
defensive stopper, you should have never brought him in. Evan Fournier is not a defensive stopper. So when you bring these guys in, probably I don't know what the coaching situation is, whether Tibbs wanted them or not. You don't know. And the fact that Tibbs could say that Cam Reddish has got to get along with his defense, that tells me he doesn't even watch the games. Cam Reddish
Yeah,
is one of the best all ball defenders
I
in
think so too.
last
Yeah,
year.
he has good length.
Yeah.
I think he has good mobility. He
So
still has some things to learn, but he's only what 21, 22 years old.
they
He's
will
young.
put
And the only way he's going to learn those things is by being on the court. I don't
the
care how much
Hawks will
film you
put
watch.
the Hawks were putting Cam Reddish on the best offensive player on the other team every game he was out there, whether it be point guards, two guards, small forwards. He played them all. But on the
Right.
Knicks, he can't play defense.
And that to me, that's the problem that I have with Tibbs in general is he'll make these statements and then like you'll see Julius Randle out there,
Yeah.
giving up wide open threes, not hustling back. Seen a couple of clips of him not picking up his teammates off the floor, sitting on the end of the bench, right by himself, standing out of the huddle on the court while they're on the bench huddled, all type of stuff. And I don't hear. And maybe Tibbs is doing that on purpose, not saying anything because they want to flip him. I don't know, but I heard him call out RJ Barrett a couple of times, right, for not putting in the work and this and that, right? Cam Reddish don't play defense or got to earn what he
Yeah.
gets, and all that stuff
Then,
sounds good. It makes for good punchlines, but players aren't going to respect you when they see you're not holding everybody accountable.
Zane
Hmm.
says the Knicks
Julius
need a
Randle.
center, and Cam Reddish will be a beast by next year. Yeah, I agree, Zane. I
Yeah,
think 51 right.
I think that's probably what it is. I'm assuming, at least I hope so, with Cam Reddish, right? If not, I think it's going to be a clash between Leon Rose and company and Tibbs because, like you said, they didn't give away draft picks and
Yeah.
everything else just to have this guy become the new Kevin Knox
Well, you
and
want to
ride
hear
away on the
something?
bench.
You want to hear an interesting thing about Cam Reddish, and this is why Tibbs and these guys are crazy. If you go back and look at the draft video, they took a poll from the players in the draft about who was going to be the best player in that draft. You know who they said? Cam Reddish.
Cam Reddish.
Yeah. So Cam Reddish, I remember seeing Cam Reddish play in high school, and all these dudes you see him playing, he was killing these dudes. He had like
Wasn't Cam
38
Reddish
points a
like
game.
the third prospect coming out of high school
Yeah,
or something like that?
yeah, exactly.
Third or fourth rated prospect. I
Yeah,
don't think
he's
he
the
lost
third.
his ability. He just hasn't had a real opportunity yet.
Yeah. And remember when Atlanta needed who was scoring those points to bring them back in those playoff games last year?
Even
It's
this year,
Cam.
he had a couple of 30-something point games just before
Yeah.
they traded him.
Yeah, so it's
They
one of those.
flipped him not because he was a scrub. He's just going to be up for a contract.
Yeah, it, it was a good value move for them at the
And
time. They weren't
their
going to be able
front
to pay
court is
him.
crowded.
Yeah, they weren't going to pay him, so they got something for him, which was smart on
Right.
their part. They sold high.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
Chip is an issue, man. I always knew it when we signed him. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it, man. Try and get him out of there, man. Let's go young. Who we gonna hire to replace him? I don't know, man. But get
I,
him out
I
of there,
did
man.
see. I did see some of these other teams that some players are more interested or open to trades now. I don't think it's going to happen, but I seen where Bradley Beal now is a little more open to the idea of being moved. CJ McCollum seems like he doesn't care either way. And I heard that New York's old homeboy from Utah. I don't
Oh,
think he's gonna be
Donovan
staying.
Mitchell.
Yeah, I don't think he's gonna be
Yeah,
staying in Utah. He wants out of there. That supposedly him and Rudy Gobert are not
Back
getting
at it
along
again,
again.
right?
Yeah.
yeah. I'm here with Miami or Knicks with him.
Yeah,
Shannon
I think so
says
too.
Shannon says Tim's downfall was the success he had last year.
And I think that changed they tried to speed up the process. They tried to speed up the rebuild, right? And went out and
Mm-hmm.
got Kemba and Fournier because they
Yeah.
got a little success.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He
I guess
couldn't score in the playoff too. He couldn't score in Atlanta. Couldn't score. Besides Randall, so kind of sacrificed defense for scoring, and it didn't work out.
Tibbs said now he's too. Shadon said Tibbs now he's too smart for his own damn good. I think he's overplaying. Like he's still. If you look at any NBA game, as much as we talk about defense and everything, the team that wins is the one that scores the most points. So ultimately, Golden State is not the greatest defensive team. Neither is Phoenix. They're not the greatest defensive team either. But when they need to, they make stops and they can put the ball in the hole.
Mm.
And the crazy thing with Tibbs is he makes like zero adjustments. Obi Toppin could check in the game and drop 10 points right away.
He's out after a certain
Once
point.
that
Yeah.
time comes, those 2 minutes are over, and Randall's coming back in the game, no matter what Toppin is doing. You know, he can have 30 in 5 minutes.
It's
And
a
Tibbs
robot.
gonna pull him. Yeah, he look at that sheet to see how many minutes people should be playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's well, he does. He, you know what? He's still thinking old school. The guys got to earn their way. They got to fight through.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, that also messes the teams up too. Because remember, Cam Reddish he's got next year will be his last year. So you could make it so he could just not even want to be there regardless.
And I have no problem with the old school mentality of earn what you get. It's just everybody got to earn it. Julius Randle right now, he definitely hasn't been deserving of 40 minutes plus a night.
You know what?
Toppin is out there, hungry. When Toppin checks in, he brings a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The ball is zipping around.
Yep. Block shots.
Playing only, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes a game.
That's
discouraging, right? I've seen a couple of times where Tibbs pulled Toppin out, and you could tell Toppin looked like he was frustrated because he's playing well.
You gotta find a team right now where Randall's had a good game last night. I think the game before he did all right. If he can put together a good West Coast trip, I probably would look to see if I could get somebody to take him because that way you could at least show that he still has the ability. You'll be trying to sell high, but
you got to get somebody to take him quick. Isn't the trade deadline is what, Thursday or something like that? Right?
It's
coming up. I know that.
The only type of teams that'll take him is I could see a team like maybe the Spurs might because they got a bunch of young players and his salary is still not that high. So, but I don't know how much talent you get. Probably duplicate positions again, 2s and 3s. Oklahoma City, but you'd have to give up a draft pick. The Lakers would take him.
I think Sacramento would take him.
Sacramento would take him.
In theory, the whole him and Fox swap in theory makes sense because they like Halliburton and they just drafted Mitchell, right?
Yeah,
Davion Mitchell.
They might consider
they paid Fox. Fox is due like $160 million or something crazy. They don't want that contract.
But they're probably gonna laugh. They probably want you to take back Marvin Bagley and give him somebody like Noel or something back because they just want to get Bagley off the roster, which is not bad.
And I would do that. Tibbs ain't gonna give him no run.
Right.
Yeah, but I would take him. There's another guy with potential. The only way you're gonna get Tibbs to play these kids is by trading all the veterans away. And I think management is starting to realize that. That's why you see the Alec Burks rumors, the Fournier rumors.
The best way to get a deal with the Knicks. The best way to get the Nets can make a deal with the Knicks. You know what they'll give him? The Knicks will give him Mitchell Robinson for Paul Millsap. He'll like that. Paul Millsap.
The crazy thing is we'll trade for De'Aaron Fox. Fox will be in the starting lineup, but the power forward will be Taj Gibson. Obi Toppin playing 40 minutes. Taj Gibson.
Yep.
De'Aaron Fox will play 24 minutes because his defense is where it needs to be. He'll be sitting down in a three-point guard rotation between him quickly and
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But speaking of Sacramento, other guys on the move. Buddy Hield, right? He seems to be on the move every year. They want him out. Yeah. So I think he'll be gone.
I think he's a bad chemistry guy. I don't think they like
I know Atlanta supposedly wants to move a couple of their guys too, right? From the front court.
One of those five small power forwards they got.
Bogdanovich, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got a lot of. I mean, OKC's always willing to make a deal if you're willing to give up your draft picks.
Mm.
I mentioned Spencer Dinwiddie. He made some comments. I think it might have been towards the beginning of the season about. Did you hear when he said he tried to, I guess, make some comments about? He was basically trying to be a leader, and he said his opinion wasn't welcome, so he just shut up.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
think
he
they
outright
like him
Wow.
like
said
that
that in
either.
like a post game interview that he tried to make some comments about different things, and his opinion wasn't welcome.
Zane said the Knicks need Judah Mintz. He'll be on here with us soon. Yeah, Judah Mintz is good.
He is.
Yeah, they could definitely use him. Hey, Thea,
It,
I'm gonna
mm?
switch gears or switch topics for a second. How do we save Patrick Ewing, man?
Listen, man. You know, I've been on Twitter every day fighting on Ewing's behalf for these fools, these Georgetown fans who want to be fired. You know, I mean, this is what happened with Georgetown. The big man left. That hurt us real bad. Now, I never seen a guy leave a program where the program hurts because he left, and where he went to, his gameplay suffered badly. He's doing awful, Maryland Wahad. He's doing awful. Can't even get in the
Yeah,
court. He's having a very bad year. We had a kid named Trey King transferring with us. He had a campus incident. Something happened on campus. Yeah, he got to be kicked off the team. So basically, you have two starters, a center and a power forward, gone. So now we got role players who are not starters, bench players, not starters. Now these guys are being catapulted to starters and playing starter minutes, and the talent level is not there. It's not there. We have no size. We have Kenny Caden Rice. He's good, but he's a catch and shoot kind of guy. That's it. Nothing
yeah,
more than that. Our point guard, his name is Dante Howard. He's pretty good, but he's more of a scoring guard, and he can't facilitate. And he's too small. So we got a lot of guys who are really bench players starting on our roster right now. So we just have no talent on our team right now. No talent at
yeah,
all. But these guys are blaming you for a guy catching the ball and taking a 30-foot jump shot with mad time on the clock, and guys can't do a pick and roll. Has the ball to the guy's hand, it could go through his hands. Guys getting stripped straight up with no help defense. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on. But at the same time, he relying a lot on the freshman class. But Pat ain't the issue, man. We have no talent, man. And the talent that is there, they ain't stepping up right now. But Pat is not the problem for sure. At least in my eyes, anyway.
yeah. I figure I slipped that in there. So,
Yeah, it's
guys,
all good.
that was him again. Was him. Thanks for coming together, man. Anybody got any last topics or last things they want to bring up?
I'm just going back to my Knicks one last time. I'm hoping we trade Randall. Um, we got to get him out.
Yeah, listen, let's not fire Pat Ewing. He's not the problem. That's for sure. I want to say rest in peace to our moms. I know we were both families. My family got kind of lost our moms recently. That's why we ain't been on the show for a good amount of time. So I want to say God bless our mothers who was blessed to have us in their lives, and thank you for everything for I guess your mom did for your guys, my mom did for us, or for me I should say. And our mom will be missed, man. God bless them. May they rest in peace.
Yeah,
Yep,
I got
rest
a
in
I got a
peace.
second that Theo. Listen, you definitely was your mom. Rest in peace to your mom. Rest in peace to our mom. Listen, they definitely always be with us. Listen, and it was
Hmm.
it was great to listen to have them in our lives for the time that we
Oh
did.
yes, without question, without question.
Yeah. But again, guys, thanks for having you, man. Look forward we getting back going or something.
Yeah, man. It's been a
Got some
while. Been
great
a
shows,
while.
some different stuff coming up, man. Look forward to doing this again next week.
Yes, man.
Yep.
Take care, fellas. Enjoy.
All right,
Later.
later.